In this episode, I award Crocodile the R rating badge. He straight up killed Luffy. Through the chest, dead.
Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the crew. We think we're pretty funny, and we hope that you will too. This is the opening song to season 2. It's where the journey really starts because we've made it out of East Blue. We've got our snacks and we've got our friends. Now it's time to discuss the anime that never ends. Yeah! Start the show!
Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 42 of King of the What Now.
Yes, we're a podcast about wacky pirate adventures. We cover the adventures of Monkey D. Luffy and his friends in the anime One Piece. Sometimes we talk about the manga, but not a lot. I'm Joel. I am your host and captain. It's a brand new year, it's a brand new me, here to help fight other pirates. Also, I love our snake overlords. There's no mind control here, I just love them out of the pure goodness of my heart.
You know, that's the second time you've said the mind control thing, and I'm not really curious, because I know our snake overlords would never do that to us, but I'm wondering if perhaps you're trying to insinuate something.
I don't know.
There is no mind control here. There is only love for snakes.
Everybody clap for the overlords. Clap, clap, clap. And who are you, my friend?
Hi, yeah, I am the co-host, Curtis. I'm a One Piece novice. I was upgraded recently. And I am also the fifth batter for a baseball team. You know, we're much better than the fourth batter. Everyone says the fourth batter is so great. They're the most powerful of the batters, so they can clear the bases off. But what happens when they screw up? That's right. The fifth batter has to get out there and clean up their mess.
Also, it's very important that you know that we know very little about baseball and had to look up fourth batter while watching the episode to understand the significance of that title. But wait, there's a third presence here. A presence unseen but can yet be heard through our magical devices that can track ghostly movements and sounds.
Hello! I'm the ghost on the podcast. My name is Kat. In addition to being a ghost, I'm also a supersonic duck and the best friend you'll ever have.
Absolutely. And we just finished watching episodes 110, 111, 112, and 113. If you're watching at home, that means that they escaped out of rain dinners and Crocodile confronted them in the desert as they were trying to get to Alabasta. Luffy saved Vivi, told them to go on ahead, and then he fought Crocodile. I'm sorry I'm taking your summary job a little bit. I'll skip the middle stuff. Some stuff happens that Curtis will be going into in just a moment. You're welcome. And it ended with the Alabasta fight being set up. The Alabasta fights, I guess I should say. We're having some co-location stuff. But yeah, that's it. 4 episodes of the anime. And now Curtis can give us a little bit more deets.
Yeah. So, like Joel said, the first episode, we had a big fight between Luffy and Crocodile. It was pretty epic. It ended on a sour note. In the second episode, it was mostly just the rest of the Straw Hats minus Luffy traveling between Brain Base and Alabasta via Moving Crab. When we get to Alabasta, that is the third episode, and that's when the Straw Hats and Vivi hatch a plan and implement it to try to distract Brokeworks so that Vivi can go stop the rebel army from attacking Alabasta. And then in the fourth episode, Vivi fails to stop the rebel army and is nearly trampled to death, gets away, gets into the city, and is being chased by Brokeworks.
Mm-hmm. Specifically, Mr. 2 seems to be the most strongest member that's following her.
And then the last half of the episode, we got the setup for 3 fights. One of which is Sanji going to fight Mr. 2, so that Vivi could escape. And then we've got Zoro and Nami dealing with Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger.
Uh-huh.
And Usopp and Chopper taking on Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. 4.
Absolutely, yes. We are now going to try a new version of the summary that we do. We realized that if something was really interesting from these episodes that weren't part of the summary, that we'll probably just bring them up during our talking points. And so you might notice a little bit change in our formula, and we hope that you guys really like it. If you don't like it, let us know on Twitter. We're always happy to hear feedback. And so, Catherine, what are your thoughts on these episodes?
I liked them. I was very excited for the Luffy Crocodile fight for obvious reasons. I think that scene where Crocodile straight up punches a hole in Luffy's chest is one of the most powerful scenes we've had so far. Even just the way it was drawn, it was very dramatic. There was that zoom out moment where they were both in silhouette mode and you could see Luffy's blood dripping on the ground. And it's amazing. There's also a moment...
I was going to say, it's definitely not very G-rated.
It is not, no. This is kind of where this is kind of where the show starts to get a little bit more grown up, I think, and where you really get an understanding of what the stakes actually are in the Grand Line.
I do want to point out, just for those who didn't watch the episode for whichever reason, the term punched a hole through his chest. Crocodile used his hook to do it as well. I just want to make sure that people understood that he got stabbed. I don't think Crocodile is strong enough to punch through someone's ribcage, for example, with his left arm.
The other thing that makes Luffy and Crocodile's initial fight really, really great is that Crocodile punches through the water can that Toto gave Luffy, and it drips onto his hand, and Luffy is able to grab him. And it's just really cool that this other person's dreams are going to aid Luffy in his fight against Crocodile.
And Chris, we'd like to hear your thoughts on these episodes.
Just kind of echoing what Kat said, this show feels more mature now than it was. And I don't know, it's this arc is coming to a head, and I'm really enjoying the arc as a whole. How about you, Joel? Do you have any thoughts on these episodes?
I felt... Okay, so the Alabasta arc is a great one. It's the biggest arc that we've had since Arlong in terms of emotional impact, I would say. Well, okay, no, Chopper had some good stuff, and there was some emotional through line in Little Garden, but there's just so much in Alabasta. It's a long journey to get to the point where we actually get to finally find the organization that are causing all these troubles and punch them in the face. At the same time, it is longer compared to earlier arcs, and I do think that those middle two episodes felt like there wasn't a lot to them. So I was surprised that we watched 4. We got the Luffy Crocodile thing, and we still haven't properly gotten any of the other however many fights started yet. And we have another 5 episodes of the podcast before we're done with Alabasta. So I'm starting to feel the drag, but I'm thankful that we got to Luffy and Crocodile. That's another one of those iconic scenes that's just like, oh my god. That's also, it's the first time Luffy's ever, truly lost in the scene. He's never taken the loss like that quite before. There was the part where he was underwater at Arlong Park, but that wasn't really a fight. That was just he was inconvenienced for a second. He was in the cage with Buggy, but again, just an inconvenient situation. And yeah. So I think that, Curtis, you wanted to talk about your thoughts on the fight as well. You mentioned that before we started the episode.
Yeah. So, the fight between Luffy and Crocodile, I think, was, the most significant thing that we saw out of these 4 episodes. There was a lot more weight behind this fight, because we saw the futility in Luffy trying to make any sort of contact with Crocodile, right? And Luffy realized it too. It's the first time we've seen Luffy in a situation where he's like, I can't do anything. This isn't helping at all. And it was just a very interesting scenario that we have not seen yet.
Yep, I would completely agree with that. You also have you see Crocodile once again attack the Toto's village. That's not Arumalu. That's
Yuba.
Yuba, thank you. We see Crocodile create another sandstorm, and you see Luffy get really frustrated, but as we've said before, Luffy's answer to a lot of these things is punching, and punching a guy who's made out of sand isn't that great. Mm-hmm. Another, really tiny moment that really stuck with me, though, was when Luffy first stretches at the very beginning of the fight and uses, I think, a regular gum pistol. Crocodile's eyebrow just very slightly arches right before he's attacked, but he very quickly adapts. He's like, okay, I'm fighting a rubber person. There have been other people who haven't necessarily been as weirded out by Luffy's devil fruit powers, but at the beginning of the series, everyone Luffy met was like, oh my god! But now we've met a guy who's so seasoned, he's been around as a pirate for so long that it doesn't faze him. He's like, yeah, I'm just fighting a rubber guy. Okay, I guess that's my Tuesday.
I think... Sorry, I was thinking about this more too. I think the one other thing I think I finally nailed it. The thing that I liked the most about this fight is up until now, this has been a standard like shonen anime where it's just if you're strong, you will win sort of thing. And they broke that in this fight because it's. I mean, I guess you could argue that Crocodile's stronger than Luffy, yada yada yada, but the point being that it's not just about the protagonist's willpower to overcome. It's about, I'm in a situation and my willpower and my strength is not enough.
Right. And he has to come up with a new way to fight. Yes.
Yeah. And I really like the idea that he has to put some thought and a different type of effort into this now.
It is kind of interesting. It also shows why Crocodile is one of the 7 warlords of the sea. I'm sure if somehow you took away his devil fruit power, that he'd still be formidable. He wouldn't go down easily, but I think that's definitely a part of what makes him so ferocious as an opponent.
Kat, are there any other standout moments in these 4 episodes?
I gotta say, I really love this arc. It was one of my favorite arcs the first time I was watching the series, and I'm enjoying going back through it. I completely forgot about the Supersonic Duck Squad, and they are just incredible. Setting them aside, though, I really like Karoo in particular, and how he kept fighting for Vivi because he was inspired by Luffy, and Luffy saying, we're her friends, we're going to fight for her. And so Karoo pushed himself past his limits so that he could live up to Luffy's ideals. And I think that kind of is representative of the series as a whole.
I agree with that. I had a slightly different reading of that scene. It shows a couple of flashbacks of Karoo with the crew and the putting the X on their arms and his wing in his case. I took it as Karoo's never really had people treat him as a friend, I guess. I mean, Vivi, yes, but these people have also accepted him, even though he's a duck. And so he's like, oh man, I gotta be able to help these guys out as well, in addition to into Princess Vivi. But I never suspected that we would get a moment with the duck that showed how hard he was fighting, because they don't fight in the traditional way that the swordsman or the kicking chef or the rubber man do.
Yeah, the show is really good at taking characters you'd expect to not be very important and giving them moments to shine. Like Toto, when he was facing down the sandstorm, and he was like, you come at me, cowardly sandstorm, but Yuba will rise again!
I just don't understand how he can have that much optimism in him. I get it. He represents the purity, the good thing that Vivi is fighting for, but dang, he doesn't even blink. He sees the sandstorm, he's like, I just found some water, it took me like 10 years to dig up or however long, and another sandstorm? I'll fight it. I'll punch the sandstorm.
I want to see him pick up his shovel and walk up to Crocodile and just whack Crocodile right in the face.
You mark my words, if we like in 400 episodes, if we come back and visit Toto, he's gonna be swole. He's gonna have a shovel in either hand. I can take on any sandstorm.
I've dug so many wells now.
Boy, you're just a puddle compared to the well that I would dig up.
Oh my god. That is a great candidate for Fanfic Friday. Yeah, but yeah, Karoo was the big standout character for me in his moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as for me, I think that, the Crocodile Luffy fight was amazing, don't get me wrong, but Curtis already brought it up, I already kind of mentioned my thoughts on that. Another thing that I really appreciated was everyone planning around their enemies' plans. They know that they need to get Vivi to a specific part in Alabasta in order to try to talk to the rebels. The enemies know that Vivi's trying to stop the rebels, and so they come up with this plan to distract everyone by having them all put their cloaks up over their heads, and the Brokeworks agents can't tell, like, which one of those is Vivi? And surprise, it was none of them, because there was a secret 7th duck that was Vivi. But then Mr. 2 was able to take out Usopp pretty quickly, and then take his goggles and look like Mr. Usopp. Look like Usopp. But then it turns out that the bandage Zoro had them all put on their arms was a ploy, and that secretly there was a mark underneath the bandage that they'd never seen. And then it turned out that Crocodile had a member of Baroque Works infiltrate the army and fire the cannon so that Vivi couldn't see Koza, and Koza wasn't able to see her. This is so much more in depth than anything else we've seen from any other characters in One Piece. Mr. 3 was supposed to be the smart guy who twirls his evil mustache when he put the bomb in the drinking, but that was a one-step plan. Bomb and drink, you're done. This is a 6-part plan with both sides kind of considering their opponent's moves and their counter moves and all this other stuff. And, just to give you a little bit of a taste of what's to come, this isn't the last time we're going to see something like this with the Straw Hats having to work together with allies in order to thwart bad guys who have had plans going on for much longer than the Straw Hats have been in town.
So you're saying that there will be more teamwork?
Yes, exactly. That's what works. It's teamwork.
Teamwork works?
Yes, exactly.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
We also got a little bit of moment with one of Catherine's favorite boys, Smoker-chan. But he didn't stick around a whole lot at the beginning of this first episode, Luffy vs. Crocodile.
He just kind of took off into nowhere. And
yeah.
I don't remember what Smoker is up to, so I'm kind of concerned. Let me back up. Tashigi said, Smoker, what do I do? Do you want me to fight the Straw Hats, or are we aiding Alabasta's guards? Are we aiding them in their fight against the rebels? And he said, follow the sense of justice in your heart. And then he got on his motorcycle and he left. So, first of all, not helpful, Smoker. Tashigi has a really strong sense of justice, but kind of a narrow, focused one. Second of all, where are you going? Where are you going?
Is it possible that Smoker is trying to play the part of the wise old man who tells the protagonist a key piece of information that'll be relevant at the end of their quest? So he goes up to Tashigi and dispatches some wisdom. Listen to the justice in your heart. And then he goes away because otherwise she'll just ask him for clarification. She has to come to the realization on her own.
Maybe. I don't like the implication that Tashigi is a protagonist. She's far too stupid.
Oh.
Luffy isn't really known for his intelligence, and neither really it was like Naruto or Natsu.
Luffy and Tashigi are airheaded in different ways, and
Okay.
Tashigi is not.
And Luffy shows up more frequently.
That is certainly true.
I mean, he's on the... Is there a cover? He's on the cover.
Curtis, I have my own theories about what Smoker is up to, but I'm curious what you think. Where do you think he's going?
So he said he was... I thought he was going out to sea, is what he said, which I'm not sure what he's gonna do there.
Can confirm that's where he said he was going, but at the same time, why? That's not where the fighting is happening.
I know that he said something interesting he said something that I found interesting, which was that the events going on right now were important and were going to lead to a new and historic age. And I'm assuming he's going to do something because he feels that this is important for him to go do. He wouldn't be leaving his, I don't want to call it an army, but all of his men behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for a good reason. I don't know if he's going out to sea to meet some admirals that are incoming, or if he's going to get a pirate ship, or, the Going Mary's out there parked. He could go steal the Going Mary.
Yeah, that's true. At the same time, he did tell his men not to pursue Luffy anymore, that it wasn't relevant. And so I don't think he's going to do anything to hinder the Straw Hats at this point. But I like your theories. I gotta be honest, I don't explicitly remember what happens next. I assume that what Smoker is kind of doing at this point is he's playing the end game. He doesn't want to take on Crocodile himself. Maybe he's not even legally allowed to because Crocodile has his Shichibukai warlord status.
Yeah.
But maybe what he's doing is he knows that should Crocodile be defeated, he'll try to flee to the sea. So maybe he's just sitting there with like a really big cannon. He's like, if that jerk tries to leave after all that he's done to this country, I'm going to sink him.
Maybe. Hear me out.
Okay.
So he smokes a lot of cigars, right?
Okay.
And
is he going to hotbox the ship?
No. There are some places that are, smoke free, and you got to go outside to smoke. Maybe Alabasta is smoke free above a certain threshold, and he's stressed out. He's got to smoke so many cigars now, so he has to go step outside of the country for a bit so he can smoke his cigars, and then he's going to be back.
He did say something to one of his underlings about needing to call in reinforcements, and his underling was like, I don't think they'll send in reinforcements for this, so he might be going to tell them, no, I said I want reinforcements, and they're coming this way.
Mm-hmm. That could be it. He could be going to, what's it called when you... Oh, he could be going to press a bunch of people into service to create his own reinforcements.
He's going to go do a quick training montage on his ship, and when he comes back, he'll be even stronger.
I know where he's going.
Okay.
So, the fighting dugongs are... some of them went to help the Straw Hats, but at least some of them have to be back protecting the ship still, right?
Okay.
So, my original thought when I mentioned him stealing the Going Merry is like, oh, but he had to take on the fighting dugongs. He goes, and he recruits them. He beats them, and now he's their sensei. And then he takes the fighting dugongs up.
Ah, gotcha.
Those are the reinforcements they need.
Perfect.
How would he take them, though? They're water animals.
I mean, they got on the rocks, so I'm assuming they can get on land somewhat. I don't know. He carried them on his back.
He gets the Supersonic Duck Squadron to carry them to Alubarna before they dry out? Is that the technical term? I don't know.
I never wanted a team-up as much as I want to see Supersonic Ducks, Kung Fu Dugongs fighting together.
I mean, that's pretty good. I wonder... I'll have to think about this off mic, but I wonder if there's other crazy animal teams that we could come up with that would be...
They would be the Supersonic Fighting Dugongs. Supersonic Fighting Dugongs.
Breakfast joke, do.
I have to ask, since we've got, the Kung Fu Dugongs, and the Banana Gators, and the Supersonic Ducks, what is the best non-real animal that we've seen in One Piece so far? There are some good ones.
I really, really like the Kung Fu Dugongs. I think I've gone on record as saying that, and if I had to pick from the ones that I remember off the top of my head, they're pretty good. The filler people get props for their bird dragons. That was pretty interesting, but I'm not going to say that they're my favorite. I just think that that's a unique take on dragons.
Yeah, and I don't want to vote for something that's filler.
That's true.
I don't want to encourage that.
Stop it, filler. You know what you did. Go back to your room. Look at what you did, gestures at A-Piece.
I think either the giant scorpions or those running geckos.
Oh my god.
They look so silly.
They have such a great facial expression.
Alabasta is just the perfect kingdom for weird animals. My favorite is the Banana Gators, but I'm kind of they didn't really do much. Like, the Supersonic Ducks did things, but I have a heart for crocodiles and alligators, and they're big and they're monstrous, and I love them.
And they're also very good at forming a proper queue.
Yes, they are very mannerly, which you can't say for all animals.
Or all alligators, even. I think that might just be the Banana Gators in specific.
I want, later down the line, I want them to introduce, the...
What, lime?
Apple
Yeah.
dial, the lime dial, I don't know. But it would be a crocodile, and then the crocodile and the alligator fruit things, they can fight each other.
For supremacy, of course. Yeah, that's quite good. While we're on the talk of animals, I need to mention a couple of quotes that I wrote down during this. One of them is Zoro just shouting, "Stop the crab!" Which, I mean, come on! Are you kidding me? What?
For some context for our listeners, they were on a giant crab, and Vivi got snatched off the back of it by Crocodile, and Luffy went jumping after her, and that's when Zoro yelled, "Stop the crab!" But it was very funny. I think it's the closest we're going to get to "Stop the car" in One Piece. Are there cars in One Piece? I don't think there are.
Also, the other great thing is Miss Merry Christmas when she was using the binoculars to watch for Princess Vivi coming towards Alabasta, she shouts to the other members who don't have binoculars and can't see what she's looking at, "Ducks! They're on ducks!" Just as a random quote out of context, I need that on the refrigerator. Ducks! They're on ducks!
And then Miss Doublefinger was like, ducks?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Oh, man.
I would just like to say, bird binoculars would be a thing in One Piece.
They definitely would.
Yeah.
A bird that ate the binocular fruit?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Or binoculars that ate the bird fruit.
Oh, we can talk about that now.
We were talking, and that's a great segue. I was going to say we were talking about animals, and we neglected to mention the best part of these episodes. There was a gun that ate the mut-mut fruit model dachshund. Curtis, how do you feel?
This is one of the rare times when One Piece has made me want to throw up a little. I was aghast. I was appalled. I was disgusted and just personally offended.
Okay, so I think Joel and I, when we got to this episode, both had the same reaction of, holy crap, that's so cool, guns can eat fruits, so I have to know why this upset you so much.
Okay, I might be being a little hyperbolic. It is interesting. So we spoke theoretically, hypothetically, about inanimate objects eating devil fruit and what that would mean and how they would do it. And I assumed that was a hypothetical, oh, this is a fun, fanfic moment. I never expected to see an inanimate object that had somehow consumed a devil fruit.
If I could interject real quick, I'd like to point out two things. One, if you are someone who knows more about the One Piece universe, you've gotten further in the anime or the manga, you'll actually notice that Catherine is very eager to ask leading questions that are, what do you think about this really small detail that will secretly be really important in 300 episodes? And then you say something that's completely way off base because you don't have any foreknowledge, and then we go, okay, we'll remind him when we get to that part that he said this and he was wrong, but he didn't have the information. Two, I think that really actually is a point in favor for One Piece. We were joking around being like, well, people can eat devil fruits and they get powers. What if a ship ate a devil fruit? What if a freaking shield ate a devil fruit? But One Piece is one of those stories where if you can imagine it, it's at least slightly plausible. And so it's actually really interesting that we were asking ourselves these questions. Then Oda went, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a gun and it's also a dog. You're like, all right, Oda, thank you so much. I mean, a dog that ate the gun fruit would be one thing, but this is a gun that ate the mut fruit. What?
It's so good. And I also want to touch on what Miss Merry Christmas said about it being a secret technique from the Grand Line. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
I assume that I guess my first thought was they just shoved the fruit, they pureed it and
mash it.
Yeah, put it down the barrel of the gun. What is more likely is that they found a way to fabricate the gun with pieces of the devil fruit imbued in it, right?
Oh, okay.
That would make more sense to me because I feel like just because we've had devil fruits on ships, right, before, and the ship did not quote-unquote consume the devil fruit.
Right, so touching it isn't enough. You have to take it into yourself somehow.
Yeah, and and not just having it inside the object, because if it's in the ship's hull, it still doesn't affect it. It has to be in the material, I think.
Built into it.
If
okay.
this is a technique that's being used on the Grand Line, do you think that we'll encounter more inanimate objects like this?
I would assume so. Maybe I'm assuming they will appear, but they will be rare. If they are a secret technique, then it will occasionally come up.
I want to know how Mr. Four got one. They don't seem connected to anyone important other than Crocodile, I guess.
And then Miss Merry Christmas made a comment. It made it sound like there was a group that had been experimenting with this, but it doesn't seem like it's Baroque works that she's talking about. So there must be another group that she is affiliated with on the Grand Line that is
working on this.
Yeah.
Do you think it's related to the government, or do you think it's going to be another party that we haven't met yet?
I'm assuming another party, but it could be the government. I don't have enough evidence to go either way. It's if it is the government, the only faction of the government we've seen is the Marines so far. So if it's part of the world government, then it's going to be a section that we haven't seen yet, or or a portion of, like a piece or division or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I do like the idea of inanimate objects eating devil fruits, but specifically the way the dog looks is a little disconcerting to me.
It's a little uncomfortable.
I mean, he does have a cold. Maybe that's a fact. No, I'm kidding. So let's move on to the next logical question. What would you want your gun to eat? Okay? If you had a gun. I mean, okay, so actually that might not be the next logical question. The next logical question is, can it be any inanimate object? Or does it have to be a weapon? Or is a weapon just the most logical place to put the physics-bending powers of?
I would think it could be any inanimate object. A follow-up question is, does it have to be an animal devil fruit? Or can you imbue a different power? Like, if you did the same thing with a gun, but with the flare fruit, would you make like a fire gun?
I think you would, but I don't know. So I think that's a really interesting question. If I were going to feed my gun any particular devil fruit, it would be the dragon fruit, because then we could fly. And it
Dragons
could shoot
don't
people
exist.
from the air. I made up a devil fruit. It
Well,
doesn't
okay.
have to exist.
Well, I guess that's true. It's a world of imagination. Okay, you got me there. I just want to say the only 3 animal devil fruits that we have seen that I can think of off the top of my head, ox, or whatever, bison, right, was what Dalton was, the human, and the mole. And so, as far as we can tell, they're real animals, and so...
Okay, fine. I would have my weapon eat the bat fruit, because then we could fly and we could shoot people from the air.
Alright, that's pretty good.
Same idea.
Imagine a chair that had eaten the falcon fruit from Pell, and you just sit on it and just flies into the air.
That's great. Imagine somebody sitting all casually as their chair descends from the sky with its wings flapping, and they've got, like, their arms folded and their legs out, and they're like, so you thought you could come here and fight me? And then their chair lands, and they stand, and dramatic music plays. I'm having a good time.
I feel like they'd have to be able to play the harp, and like it'd be like an angelic figure coming down.
Oh, man. Just wait a little bit. Just wait a little bit into the series. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Joel.
Yep.
Are there angels in One Piece?
Oh,
I have no idea. You're going to have to watch and find out.
Have you figured out if there are robots in One Piece yet?
I mean, there are dog guns.
Does that count as a robot?
I don't know.
Do you think
I don't
he
think
has to
so.
feed it now that it's a dog?
Yeah, I think that it probably has the same... Because it can catch a cold and it can sneeze, so it probably lives and breathes like an animal.
I wonder... Oh. So, okay. So for some context for listeners, in case you haven't seen the episode in a while, the dog gun, its name is Lasso, and it shoots baseballs because Mr. 4 is the
fourth hitter.
Yeah,
fourth batter.
Fourth batter, yeah, you're right. Which, I guess, like we said earlier, means that you're a really strong batter. So what he does is the dog shoots these explosive baseballs, and then he hits them. I'm assuming he has to load these explosive baseballs into the dog at some point, and my original assumption is if you look at the way the dog is drawn, there is a big hole in its rear.
Yeah, that's the cannon.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you load it from the back, and then it shoots out the front. And Joel is shaking his head, and he said it's the cannon, and now I'm worried because my assumption is clearly wrong. Because if you have to feed it, it's got to come out somewhere.
I think that this isn't confirmed, but I believe that you feed the dog normal food, and somehow it processes it into the exploding baseballs. Don't ask me how that works. And it's normally supposed to come out of its butt, but because it has a cold, it can also sneeze them out.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense. So it would normally come out of its butt because you feed it food and it poops baseballs. It poops explosive baseballs.
And it fires them, and oh my god! Talk about having explosive poops.
So right now, it's vomiting baseballs.
Yup.
It's sick.
This is making me really sad. Do you think when they fed it the dog fruit, they granted it sentience? Do you think it knows enough to be like, I'm a malformed creation of science. I shouldn't exist.
No, I don't think it's sentient.
That's good, because that would be sad.
It wouldn't track because I think the only reason the humans that eat the animal fruits are sentient is because they start off sentient. And the only reason Chopper is sentient is because he ate the human fruit.
So you think that if a dog ate the cat fruit to create our favorite Nickelodeon show, it would not have human-level intelligence because neither component is human.
Precisely.
But all the animals we've met in the One Piece world so far, including Choo-Choo the dog, have had human levels of intelligence.
Not human levels. I don't know if they could write and speak and stuff, but yeah, they definitely seem to understand things pretty
right.
well.
Okay. So, maybe it has some sentience. Maybe it's just okay with what it is, right?
Okay, it doesn't think...
A dog doesn't care that it's a dog. A dog isn't like, oh, look, there's an owl, I'm not one of those, I'm sad. No, the dog is just wagging his tail, asking for belly rubs.
Well, because, like, if you, let's say you're an alien, you come to Earth from a different planet, and you see all these creatures walking around, and you're like, they're so disturbing, they look so weird, but this is just us, we're normal.
I just think it would be hard to go from being a gun with no thoughts or feelings to being a living creature that has to eat and poops baseballs.
Welcome to King of the What Now, a place where we discuss the existential horrors that is suddenly imbuing sentience on inanimate objects. Also, I had this thought while you were talking. So when you play with dogs and they get really excited, sometimes they fake sneeze, and it's reasons. Catherine's explained it to me off mic before. But if you had the dog if you had a dog gun and you were playing with it, they got excited and sneezed, you're dead. You just got yourself killed by playing with your dog.
Can we also talk about the fact that it's a gun, and eat the dog fruit? Where in there do the baseballs come from?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, how convenient is it that they probably made it and they're like, you'd be perfect for number 4. But,
maybe it was a baseball gun. Like, maybe the word for gun is very similar in Japanese to some other words, and maybe they were thinking of one of those things that fires baseballs in a batting cage.
I could see that.
I could also see One Piece being the sort of place where you could just fire baseballs from a pistol. Like, there's got to be someone who invented that.
Yeah.
Or is that what you're saying?
No, I was going to make a comment about the fact that they're also exploding baseballs, and originally I was curious, like, how do you load them and have them not explode in the dog? And now I'm curious, like, does the dog just produce explosive materials? It clearly does. I mean, at least exploding baseballs.
Well, and they're set on a timer, too, so even if they don't make contact, they explode, and Mr. Four can apparently calculate how long until they explode. Does the dog have a timer on its, like, rib cage? Like, where's he getting that information? I don't understand.
This whole thing raises a lot of questions, which I think we should consider and come back to after a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, of course. Previously, in 2018, our heroes went to the gym and tried to get swole. They tried to eat right. They tried to get lots of sleep. They tried to make friends. And it went okay, but then the end of the year came, and things went poorly for our heroes. So now, in 2019, it's time to achieve a new level of power. Come to the anime dojo, where all of your fighting dreams can possibly come true! Yes! You can learn how to sense life force energy!
Life force energy!
You can shoot beams of light and lasers!
Wow!
You can also learn other techniques that are a little bit more specific, a little bit more esoteric. Lightning powers, ice powers, rock powers, kitty summoning powers!
Elemental.
Oh! So if you want to get in better shape, if you want to live the best possible life, if you want to kick 2019's butt and achieve the next power level, you can train under all sort of amazing anime instructors. You've got Rorona Norizoro, Saitama, Master Roshi, Yugi and his patented card drawing stance, All Might, the #1 hero, and Master Splinter, and somehow even Danny Phantom that's gotta be a mistake, right, guys?
We're technically shoots energy beams.
Alright, everything is anime now. Include friggin' Cat Dog, I don't care. The point is, you go there, you train at the anime dojo, and you show 2019 who's boss. And I've even heard the rumor that if you sign up now, you can sign up for the power level and transformation class for 50% off, thus allowing you to say with confidence, this isn't even my final form. Now, go out there and show Zawaldo who's boss.
Is that a JoJo's reference?
And over! All right, and now we're back to talk about One Piece.
What were we talking about, right? Oh, we were talking about the dog thing still.
Yeah.
There was one more comment I was going to make, I forgot it. That's okay. Let's continue.
Now that we're back from the break, I think we realize that we don't actually have that much more to say about the dog, and we've spent a while talking about the dog gun. This is not the last time that we're going to have the idea of an object eating a devil fruit. Even if you were to go home right now and obsessively read up to chapter 920, whichever one came out last week or whenever it was, you will not have the answers you're looking for. There's some speculation about restrictions. You said, could it be Zoan type only? To which I will say, that is a school of thought. We don't have proof, but it seems likely that that's related to it somehow. Something about bestowing, life onto something. Because Smoker can choose to be made out of smoke, or he can choose to be physical. So if you fed it to a gun that didn't have a thought, it didn't have a brain, it would either always be solid, thus useless, or always be smoke, thus useless. So
Is there an anime academy where I could apply for a grant to research and get to the bottom of this?
I was asking about this on Twitter, actually, and somebody from the Piece Together podcast suggested looking into media visual analysis from an Eastern standpoint. If you want us to do anime studies.
Wow, okay. Let's do it.
I have another little quote on here that's kind of related to when Luffy decided that he was going to take on Crocodile. Vivi got a little upset. Obviously, she's worried that Luffy will be okay. And Usopp himself, Luffy says, go on ahead without me. And Usopp gets really mad when Zoro orders them to go ahead, because that's our captain, what the heck. And Zoro says, whatever happens to any of us from this moment on isn't the least bit important. That's the tail end of the quote. But basically, this war is happening, and if the rebels and the soldiers fight each other, that's it. The country is dead. Crocodile's won. So it doesn't matter if Luffy gets captured or killed by Crocodile, or if he loses the fight. What's the most important is getting to that battle and preventing it as much as possible.
And that's a continuing theme, too, from before, when they were trying to convince Vivi to go on. Remember, Luffy was trying to get the point across to her, it's you gotta be willing to let other people also stand up for this. It's bigger than just you.
Yep. Well, and then Sanji immediately, I also wrote down this quote, Vivi, you started this fight, but don't make the mistake of thinking you're in it alone. And so...
I read that with Sanji.
It's a very Luffy thing to say.
I mean, so here's the thing about this show, though. I really do think that the way Luffy works as a captain is the longer you spend with him, the more you kind of become a little bit like him. Usopp is probably not ever going to be able to achieve Pirate King. He's the physically weakest of the crew, sort of a thing. Nami's never going to be a physical fighter, for example. Zoro's not going to be able to kick like Sanji or whatever. I don't know why I chose that example. But the thing about Luffy is he has a philosophy, and the longer people spend with him, the more they get on board with the philosophy. So you're right, that Sanji probably got that wording from Luffy a little bit, but now that he's been on the crew and he's signed up and he's a Straw Hat, yeah, he believes it with his full heart as well. And I think that even Vivi specifically said, yeah, we're going to fight just like Luffy taught us or whatever, and that's Luffy's true power as a protagonist. It's not the fact that he's capable of fighting people, it's that he's capable of persuading other people to fight for their dreams. Because, yeah, there might be opponents coming up that Luffy can't beat on his own, that he might need help in order to defeat. Or could you imagine Luffy trying to fight Hachi, the Six Swordsman, when Luffy is weak to slicing? He needs Zoro to be able to protect him from those sharp, pointy things.
Are those called swords?
No, it's sharp, pointy things. He actually uses a slightly different weapon that the mermen, or the fish people created.
Actually, I have read Game of Thrones, so I can say pretty confidently that those sharp, pointy things are called needles.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay.
Oh, so do you have to get a weapons degree to become a doctor then?
Curtis, short walk, decent water. It was a little warm for my taste. It wasn't quite like the perfect crisp glass of water.
Okay, I'll get some ice for you then.
Okay, so here's a question that we ask sometimes. Anything feel like foreshadowing? And by that, I mean, Curtis, you looked at me and you said, is this foreshadowing?
I did, Joel. So there was a part where during Crocodile and Luffy's fight, Crocodile, is right after he stabs Luffy,
Mhm.
also punctures the water jug that Luffy's been carrying around that Toto gave to him from Yuba.
Mhm.
And the water goes down Crocodile's arm, and Luffy is able to grab onto his arm, right?
Pretty hard.
Yeah.
We get a scream of pain. Well, not scream, but a...
Like a surprise almost from Crocodile.
yeah.
Like he hasn't been touched in however long.
Jeez.
That's weird.
Wait, hang on. Do we need to sign up Crocodile for a dating service? Is that why he's so grouchy? I'm gonna burn Alabasta to the ground because no woman will kiss me.
The One Piece version of Tinder is called Grander. You meet on the grand level.
I love it. And despite your protests, I'm sorry, it has to stay in. I just love that sentence too much.
Okay. Yes, but I think there's a moment there where Luffy realizes that the water did something. And I don't know. I guess I don't know if he realized it right then, but it will be a thing.
Okay.
I think that is 100% foreshadowing that when he is trying to figure out how do I attack Crocodile, I can only punch. Oh, he got wet that one time and I could touch him.
That's assuming he survives the blow to the chest. That seemed pretty fatal, didn't it?
I mean, yes, except that nobody dies in One Piece.
Yeah, Igaram straight up exploded, and look, here he is!
So, Igaram's alive. And that was surprising, considering the fact that he died in a nuclear explosion at sea.
Yeah, like, did Robin even... Oh, yeah, we can call her Robin now, because that's been revealed.
We know her name.
Did Robin even try to kill him, or did she just try to make it look really convincing?
I'm curious now about that fact, because she saves Luffy. So at the end of Luffy's fight, after getting stabbed, he survived the stabbing, and Crocodile was a little surprised, and then just kind of like tossed him aside, and he fell into the sinkhole pit that Crocodile made during their fight and sunk into the sand. Then Robin, who is Miss All Sunday, just to make the connection there, comes out and gets him out of the sand using her creepy hand flowers, and saves him. And then what's his name? Pell comes out of the town, wants to fight Robin, but Robin's like, nah, just save this kid, right? Why did she save him? Like, so now we've got Igaram didn't actually die, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. And then
she didn't let Luffy die.
Yeah, like she could have left him in the sand.
So I'm of two minds on this. One is that maybe she's just a better person than we think. Maybe she's undercover with Crocodile like Vivi was, and it just hasn't been revealed yet. The other possibility, not in regards to Igaram, but in regards to Luffy, is he had information, or she thought he had information that she wanted. She explicitly asks him, what are you D people trying to do? Why are you like this? And he makes some gasping sounds because he's dying, and she goes... Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, then. And she leaves.
Yeah.
But I think that she saw how hard he was fighting against Crocodile, and she heard that he had that D initial, and she was like, I have to know what is driving this person.
It's also interesting to note that when she was first introduced into the scene, it was when they arrived at Alabasta, I believe. Oh, no, it was actually Whiskey Peak was when she showed up. I was getting my scenes mixed up. She showed up on the Straw Hat ship, and she gave them an internal pose that would get them to Alabasta, I believe, and they decided not to go that way because they thought she was an enemy. But, I mean, maybe we know a little bit more about Miss All Sunday than we're letting on. But, I mean, it just seems like there's something more to her and that she still has a part to play in all of this going on.
So that also could have been foreshadowing, to go back to what you were asking.
Exactly. If you're going to have a character who is undercover and then turns out to be a good person, which seems the most likely with the information that we have, you can't just have that come out of nowhere, because otherwise you're like, wow, literally anyone could be a secret good guy working underneath the bad guy. So if you're going to show that someone has a good heart, you need to show it once or twice, if that is indeed what's happening.
I have a theory.
Okay.
It's a real theory.
It's not a silly theory.
Okay, you're using that smile that you use when you have a fake theory.
Yeah, no, it's a real theory.
Okay.
Give me the theory.
Yes. I think Robin is a part of a group called Contemporary Pieces. that has infiltrated Baroque works and is trying to undermine it.
You lied. That was a silly theory.
No, it's a real theory.
Is it? Do you believe that?
It's a real silly theory.
He's making an art joke.
It took me a second. I was going to go, oh, right as you said, he's making an art joke. But, I mean, interesting. So is she the head of her organization, or is she just a lower-ranking member, do you think?
I think she is also... she is the second hand of that organization.
As
also.
well? Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. I like that theory a lot. We're going to have to see how that plays out in the future.
Secretly, she's a member of a third organization called the Dadaist Movement. No, we're done.
She is a triple agent.
This is not an art history podcast.
I don't think that she could be a member of the Dadaist movement, because wouldn't that just be a little absurd?
So that about covers, I think, everything from the episodes we had marked down to discuss. Does anybody have any final thoughts they want to bring up?
I just want to go on record and remind Curtis that we don't know Mr. One's story at all. When I say story, I don't mean his background. Good luck finding any of that. Read the next 900 chapters and you'll be clearer on that. But when he got punched by Mr. 2 back during their bar fight when the Brogue members met at Spider Cafe, the wall, collapsed in such a way that it was like a perfect circle, even though his body isn't a perfect circle. And also, Usopp shot an exploding star, fire star, whatever it's called, and he just kind of, against his hand, it exploded and Mr. 1 was fine. So it's going to be interesting to see how well he and his partner face against Zoro. Just food for thought.
So, maybe he has a force shield power then?
That would be really cool.
No. He ate the bubble fruit. He can make bubbles around himself. They're super bubbles.
That's why his butt is so round. It makes perfect sense.
He has the bubble butt.
The butt. Perfect. So that's been my final thought. Anything else?
I don't think I can top that, Curtis.
No, Bubble Butt's final thought.
That was our do
final thought. Outro goes here. It's the first outro of 2019. So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are KingOfTheWhatPod. KingOfTheWhatPod at gmail.com, patreon.com/KingOfTheWhatPod, KingOfTheWhatPod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host. Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.